People.
So listening, pay attention.
Oh, yeah.
You're looking for capitals.
It's normally John Bayley who dispenses the advice.
It's me. Nice to meet you, Andy Latham. Nice to see you. Come on in.
But today, he's come to see a recognised master, Andy Latham, the South East Regional winner of the 2005 Teacher of the Year Award.
You've got labs on both sides.
Andy's been head of science at Hove Park School, a Brighton comprehensive with over 2,000 students, for the last 2 years.
And then after that, down to the Valley side, which is the other side.
A keen advocate of assessment for learning, Andy has revolutionised the teaching of science in the school, and John has come to witness his winning ways.
So this is where we all hang out. Lizzie Cowley.
Andy leads a team of 12 teachers and 6 technicians, not to mention teaching 24 classes a week. But before the science, pastoral care for his form group.
You're going to be sitting there with your parents, and I realise sometimes that you don't necessarily want to say some of the things that are going on within school in front of your parents, and it's important to get the real story out of you.
First up, Year 11 top set, 11P2.
What we're going to do today is really start to look at gravity and its effects on our solar system itself. In order to study gravity, it's impossible to do it on our Earth. I've got a bunch of books here. All right, if I want to study the effects of gravity, Max, what's going to happen to these books when I let them go?
They're going to hit the table.
They're going to hit the table, right? Gravity, whoopee-doo. Now, what we're doing today, we're starting off just checking your knowledge on space itself. Right back when you were 11 years old, year 7s, right? You did a unit on space. Now, we have got, how many groups we've got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups. One group, I'm going to ask to explain day and night. We can have 2 groups explaining seasons. We can have you lot down here. You're going to put in order planets of the solar system, all right? You've got only about 3 minutes to do this, all right? So get going now.
We'll put it there.
To my mind, the students that I teach nowadays, compared to when I first started teaching, are more life-aware, and more self-aware, and more savvy about what's going on around them, and demand an awful lot more. And I think as teachers, we need to meet those demands. How are we doing? All right, yeah, you are missing the planet. All right, now, listen up. It takes 24 hours for the Earth. Many of the things that I do are to cater for as many different learners as possible. You know, I put the learners in the 3 simple camps of visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. You know, one of the things that I try and do was to allow each different type of learner to respond. If you think about where we are on that globe, have a little look at the extremes of there and there. There we are. Try and explain that bit. Kel, get involved, yeah? Get involved and try and explain it. Right, so I was quite surprised at this point in the lesson, going through the prior knowledge, just how much they didn't remember or how much they couldn't recall from the Year 7 work on the solar system and seasons in particular, which shows just how important going through that prior knowledge is, so that you can check and know their understanding on these things before, so that you can scaffold on it before you move on. Because I think the danger is that we just take for granted students' knowledge as it is.
I'm not sure how to explain it. Right?
All right, that's what we're developing here. Don't worry about it.
The sun is like always in one position, and then the Earth rotates around it.
Yeah.
And light, not day.
And then you get students to stand up and tell you what they've learned.
Yeah.
But it's still a bit like getting blood out of a stone, isn't it, to get them talking?
I think they're most comfortable when they're sitting in groups, in groups of 3s or 4s, as long as they're all taking part. But as far as standing up in front of an audience and actually presenting a piece of work, they find it really quite difficult. But it's an important meta skill that they've got to be able to lucidly put across their viewpoint.
Well, Richard put the order of the planets in that order.
Right, read that.
Having reaffirmed their prior knowledge, it's time to expand on it.
Saturn.
All right, comets, meteors and meteorites and asteroids. We've heard about stars, we've heard about planets, we've heard about the solar system. What I want to introduce you to today are other objects, and other objects that are potentially quite dangerous for us. Have a little look at this.
2 minutes ago, the United States ambassadors to every country in the world told the leaders of those nations what I'm about to tell you.
You've got some really good video stuff here.
Yeah.
I like it. And you're showing movies, you're showing demonstrations of planets turning around like this.
With the latest technologies nowadays, with the data projectors, with the interactive whiteboards, all of these things are at our fingertips. And for myself, if I'm going to engage, if I'm going to motivate the students to learn, I need to create a performance for those students. I need to create something that's visually stimulating for them. Who's seen that film? Fantastic film, absolutely superb, love it. What we're going to answer over the next couple of lessons is that realistic? Is that real? Could it happen? Could this really happen to us on Earth? And what's the likelihood of it happening on Earth? Could it? I think the key to it and the key to engaging the students so they can see the knowledge they're picking up is worthwhile is the relevancy of it. Bringing in contemporary ideas, bringing in contemporary issues. There are many, many ways that you can teach. But I think if we're going to make it successful for the students, we have to bring it into their lives. Put your hands up if you've seen a shooting star. All right? Spend some time outside. Right, put your PlayStations down, turn the telly off, go outside for a couple of hours when it's dark, sit on a deck chair and lean back, have a look at the night sky. I do it, I don't know, once a month, once every 6 weeks. I go up onto the downs, take my binoculars and my deck chair and my flask of soup and sit back and literally look at the sky. Yeah. Who else is going to do it? Come on, Austin. All right? One of the things that amazes me, and get this into your mind, is that what you're seeing is very 3D. It's very 3D. It's not just a 2D kind of canvas. All right? You might be seeing two stars next to each other, but one's there and one's millions and billions of light years away. And once you see that in your mind's eye, the whole sky just starts to move out and go 3D. You're looking into time. It's fantastic. Try it. Absolutely, try it.
You do a lot of performance stuff in your lessons.
Yeah.
What's your background?
Yeah.
Where does all that come from?
It actually comes from being an ex-circus performer, I suppose.
What sort of stuff did you do in the circus?
I used to do fire juggling. Anything to do with fire, anything I could explode or set light to, I'd have it in the show. And I try many of the tricks in the lessons. I mean, many of them are quite relevant. Walking on broken glass shows pressure. Balancing shows moments. You know, all these things.
I should go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So where are we off to now?
Right, now we're off to my next year 11 group. Similar kind of lesson, slightly lower ability group. All right, come on in, come on.
As with the first group, before blasting off into space, Andy starts the class by recapping the basics on Earth. But with a less academic class, he takes a more hands-on approach.
Does this help? Right, yes. Now, yeah, it's going to blind you. Watch out. Right, here we got our sun.
Okay, half the Earth is facing the sun and is in daylight, and half the other Earth is facing space and it's not facing the sun, so it's going to be in darkness.
In the dark.
And basically,
I knew with this group they were going to struggle with that recall and retention, day and night, seasons, and the solar system. And so what I wanted to do, I'd planned to give myself a little bit more time to just consolidate that information. So, Shell, all right, when you're thinking about this, so here I am, yeah? Now, what time it is? Let's find out where we are, okay? We're here, and it's coming up to 11:30, so it's about there. Right? If it's spinning now, what's it going to be like outside when I get to this point here?
It's still fairly dark, but it's gradually starting to get lighter as we reach the early hours of the morning.
Right, and you can see on the board, there's the rotation of the sun. One complete rotation takes that 24 hours. Let's move on then. Seasons, one of the most difficult things to take on.
Yeah, because that's on the hotter climate, because that's tilted towards the sun. So then that is more hotter climate, because that's more towards the sun.
It's tilting.
It's tilted towards the sun.
So, if we laid this out like this...
The tilted bit's going to be more near to the sun, so it's going to get more effective. But a bit further away doesn't. So that's how the winter and night and cold and that.
I like this group work. It gives you lots of time, doesn't it, to get round...
Yeah, absolutely.
Get round the desks and have individual talks.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to be like a butterfly, moving around, you know, quite swiftly. You can't afford really to spend too much time with each group, because you know if you do, others will move off task without your input sometimes. Yeah? So listen carefully and give your own opinions. And then agree on the answer. Yeah? Is that fair enough? All right, cheers. Right, move on, shall we? Right, now, have a look.
I think that a good kind of aim is that about 50% of the activity in a lesson should be led by the teacher and about 50% led by the students.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'm very aware that, as you picked up, I'm a performer. And I think one of my weaknesses as a teacher is to take central stage far too much. What I normally do in any week with a group like that, and they'll see me say 3 times a week, 4 times a week, is that one of those lessons will be a lesson where the expectation is they get on with the work that's set for them.
OK, I'll tell you what, hang on, here we are. At the end, they do student presentations on this, don't they? Because
Yeah, that's right.
So let's run forward and get them...
As before, Andy uses his full arsenal of resources. Then, to round off, he brings the students back to Earth with a past GCSE question about comets to help them assess what they've learned.
Second mark, he'll be looking for melts or evaporates as an idea connected with the sun. Third mark, he'll probably be looking for something like due to the heat energy from the sun. Quick quiz before you leave, all right? I want a true or false. I want... no. In order to get out, you've got to answer the right question, all right? So, sit down. Maxine, and your table. Yes. True or false? True. It's an asteroid that creates a meteor shower. Asteroids create meteor showers. False.
False, because right, I was just going to say false.
False why? What is it?
It's meteors, mate.
Right, meteors. Fantastic. Give your books and off you go. Right, going up the shelf. I'll ask your table next. When you see me teach, and when I've seen myself today, I'm very aware that I am that performer. But what I hope is what underlies that performance, the structure, the activities, the variety of activities, doesn't rely on me as a personality, doesn't rely on me as a performer. It's something that anyone can use. It's something that anyone can pick up in their own teaching.
I'm listening to you talking now.
Yeah.
I can't help noticing your horse.
Yeah, after a day. Yeah.
You're knackered. You're putting an enormous amount into this. If I did something like limit the number of words you're allowed to use per lesson, if I gave you the math equivalent of a pedometer...
Yeah, it would be very, very difficult for me. I suppose I'm quite kinesthetic, but I'm also quite an oral learner. And so that's how I generally end up teaching students, and I need to be aware of that. So you can try to limit me, and that would be very interesting. I'm sure I'd come back with other ways of getting around it or anything else. But very interesting point to pick up, yeah.